Leaving Hamble Point Marina and now headed to Brest, France. The old sea dog is working hard. Out there is the Isle of Wight. I don't know what that is, but it does not smell good. Right towards that big ship is the Isle of Wight. He's motor sailing. If you look this way, that is the Isle of Wight, and that is Cowes. Cowes is the sailing mecca, and this is actually where the first America's Cup was run from. What is brown and steamy and comes out of Cowes? It's the Isle of Wight ferry. Nice current right behind us. It's about 2.1 knot current according to this little bar here. 2.1, 2.3. Our true wind here is 9, and it's right on the nose. So any wind that we have, we're generating with the motor. But it's just Tim and I, and we're going to get this trip to Brest done by ourselves. Lost our 2 other crew. They did a great job, and are back home in Philadelphia now. So straight ahead of us is Hurst Castle. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. And this is the narrowest part of the Needles Channel entering into the Solent. And they built this castle, actually it was Henry VIII built this castle as a defense for the Solent. And we're entering the Needles Channel right here. I was lucky enough to get a picture of Breezy at sea. Of course it was while motoring, but then we had spectacular views of the Needles. Alright, so here we are. We're leaving the Solent and we're passing by the Needles, the famous Needles Channel. That's the Isle of Wight. And we're looking back down into the Solent. The Needles. We're saying goodbye to the Needles. What a view. And we're finally sailing away from the Solent. Finally found a little angle of wind. It's only 9 knots, but we're doing, it looks like we're doing 5.5 knots, 6.3 with the current. And this is in 8.6 knots of true wind. Well, we're having a hell of a sail today. It's just champagne sailing across the English Channel. The plan was to leave Hamble and catch the tide out of the Solent, which we did. We had at least 2.5 knots of current that pushed us along and really slingshotted us out into the English Channel. And now we continue to have a favorable current out the channel towards the west, which is where we want to go. That's not going to continue, of course, but we've caught a favorable wind here, and we'll continue across the channel until we get above the Channel Islands, and then the wind's supposed to change to the northeast, and or from the northeast, and at that point we'll just head due west and hopefully be able to sail most of that way as well. the whole goal here is at the Chenal du Four, there's quite a bit of current there, and we have to catch that current at the right time. So if we don't catch the current properly, it'll just push us right out of the channel. So our plan is to get to Chenal du Four at around 4 p.m. Or thereabouts, and we have about a 5-hour window to be able to run down that channel into Brest, France. So things are moving along nicely, and we're having just a fantastic sail with an amazing backdrop, and just a beautiful day. So here we are. We're almost across the English Channel here, and I'm going to zoom in. We're the black boat, and you can see the traffic separation scheme over here. This is the traffic zone here, so if you cross on this side, you're going to have to go at a 90-degree angle. We are currently in between, where this is not a controlled zone, so we can cross at a non-90-degree angle. At this point, we only have 2 targets that are potential issues for us. This Eagle Barcelona is about 0.83 miles at its closest point of approach, and then this Wilson board cargo ship is 0.74 way back there. I've looked at all these other ones, they're all okay, so we should, if we continue on our current course and direction, these ships don't change their course and direction when they're in the zone, we should be just fine. And then once we reach through that northwest corner of France, we'll curve through the Chenal du Four, and we have to time that perfectly, as I mentioned before, and just so we have the tide with us. Otherwise, you could wind up going backwards in this area. So yeah, we're still motoring, but it's okay. We have just well, I guess we've just passed through these 2 ships. We've got a couple more. The one that's going to come closest to us is still a ways away, so we'll just keep an eye on him. But we're pretty close to France here, and once we turn the corner and go a few more hours, the wind is supposed to fill in behind us. So we're rigged up for the preventer, and we should be good to go to sail once we get some wind here. It is a beautiful evening on the English Channel. I have the Channel Islands in sight. I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this high-speed ferry all in sight. It's a trimaran ferry blowing a rooster tail. This was his idea. So we are unfurling the Bluewater runner head sail. This is a downwind, light wind sail, and right now we have anywhere from 12 to 15 knots. I think 15 is supposed to be the limit for this sail. This might be a big mistake putting this out with just the 2 of us. Let's see how this goes.
Oh my God. Bluewater runner.
Does not feel good when it does that.
This thing is terrifying. I will say, if the sea was any more lumpy, it wouldn't be any good. It's really not very stable, is it?
dead downwind, but I don't actually see how he could use it for anything except dead downwind. Yeah, he could pull one side out, but
Feels like a lot of stress on the rig. I put the backstay on.
That'd be fine.
So we have the Bluewater runner up, and it's we're running at 7 knots and 14 knots of breeze. I'll be happy if the breeze goes down a little bit, but anything more than this, it could be very uncomfortable. It's a big sail. Yeah, you could have a pole on it for sure.
Yeah, have two.
Yeah.
Use it just, yeah, going downwind, you know, in the trade winds, they'll pole out two genoas.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's better.
Well, how do we get this thing away?
It just slipped. I was holding it, the rope wasn't moving, and it slipped through its ratchet, or through its sleeve.
It did.
Experiment over.
You want to buy a Bluewater runner? Yeah, I'll give you this one cheap.
only use one.
So we went this far. Let's just put it away and I'll dry it out later, you know? It's a pain in the ass, but we're already soaking wet.
Okay, let's think this through then. So,
drop the halyard, just lay it down.
just lay it flat on the deck.
Yeah, and then just
fold it once.
Yeah, fold it into, start folding it into the bag, and then the last thing we do is disconnect the tack.
Oh yeah, that is definitely the worst.
Despite it all, it actually was a lot of fun. I think Tim here had a good time with it too. I don't think it was a great idea to pull it out today in all this rain and how lumpy the sea is. My recommendation would be to use it in very low winds to start off at, and even consider using a pole, and you want smooth seas. Certainly would work like a spinnaker, but it is a lot to handle, and it took quite a bit to furl it in, and I definitely would recommend a ratcheting furler to be able to, you know, at least get a pull, because it had a tendency when the wind would gust, it just would pull right out of your hand, so that was a little frightening for a short period of time. But that blue beast is put away in its cage. I don't see a time when Nicole and I could use that safely. That's a lot of sail, and it's you get a little. I mean, we were at 17 knots. That felt like too much. I was told 20 was put it away time, but I think put it away time is quite a bit less than that. I mean, it would just slap and snap, and you felt the whole boat shudder. I did tighten up the backstay. That's important. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So today might not have been the best judgment pulling that thing out, but especially with the two of us. But the other thing that was interesting is getting it hooked onto that bowsprit. I couldn't do it. Tim had to do that. I couldn't fit between the head sail and the rail at the bow to even reach far enough to get it clipped on. And you know, you're doing that in a heaving sea. That was definitely interesting. Entering the Chenal du Four, that's the lighthouse in the Four, and it's very lumpy seas. We have about 2.5 hours left. L'Enveillon Lighthouse, France. Under sail, we're on a broad reach, doing 6.2 knots. And I can't speak enough about how beautiful this countryside is in north of France. This area of Brittany is just so picturesque.
Well, it looks like we timed this tide perfectly. We've got a nice 2-knot following current. Could be bad at Chenal du Four with 4 knots against you, but today it looks pretty good.
And here's a view to the west. Look at this buoy, it is just getting banged around by that current. It's a very strong current going through this channel. A little closer now, and here's that little village with the spire. I'll try and zoom in on this. You know, the current here is, we are doing 10 knots over ground, and the speed is 6.7 knots, so we are really humming along. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you right now, I love Brest. I have come a long way to have a sail like this. This is unbelievable. This is seriously one of the most beautiful spots I've ever been. Here we go. Check out this Frenchman trying to catch us. We got 5 miles to go up this channel. Hey guys. So really just going forward against that spring?
Yeah, and it'll pull the bow out. That's what I was trying to get you to do in Hamble.
I see.
Eventually they'll slip this.
Yep.
And she'll go out backwards.
I think it's a B. There he goes. You need 2 guys to do it because it's such a big beefy line. Slip the bow. Have a good sail, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. As these folks are heading out, we are resting up and reprovisioning, getting ready for our big crossing of the Bay of Biscay coming up next.